I also think a really significant part of what we've done is to say it's terrifying, grief-stricken emotions that you feel if you really face the crisis that we're in, that humanity's killing life on Earth, and including ourselves, and that people are dying today, and it's really gonna get worse. So I mean, looking at what's happening, for example, in Sudan at the minute, or in California, it's apocalyptical. And so we've always welcomed people's emotions, and I think facing and grieving our deepest emotions is a transformative act. There's a lot more to say. I mean, participating or supporting, I would say especially participating, and it's not for everybody participating in the front line of civil disobedience. It depends on your mental health status, what other duties you've got. Racially marginalised people might think twice about whether they'll get treated the same as people with white privilege and so on. But it can be a very initiatory act to kind of say no with your body to destructive system and yes to life.
Yeah, I think that's a nice dimension, the kind of emotional dimension, which is that when you feel grief, as you say, and real empathy for nature, and you feel yourself to be part of it, and then when you're in that mode, there's no option apart from to kind of go out into the street, I guess, and really take action. I think that's a really powerful message. And so maybe could you say a bit more about the kind of current status of the kind of climate and ecological crisis for people who might not be following it as closely?
Yeah. Just to say more about the grieving stage, I mean, sometimes people often want to rush out on the streets, and obviously very welcome. At the same time, I generally encourage people to really sit with that and process it as part of a rebellious cycle, especially not to do it on your own, because you can feel like you're going a little bit crazy with it. So I think that's really important. And yeah, so the current science is not good. We've in fact today, David Attenborough in the UK is launching a film about extinction, that of order 1,000 species are likely to go extinct. Sorry, not 1,000. I think it's a million out of 7 million or something like that. Okay, I'm getting my figures wrong on that one. We're known to be in the 6th mass extinction event. There have been 5 extinctions in the past. People are aware of the dinosaurs, for example. They're all related to carbon dioxide in one way or another, and other greenhouse gases. The kind of worst one was the Permian mass extinction, when something like 95 to 97% of all life died. And some scientists believe that we're emitting carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases at a worse rate than what happened in the Permian mass extinction. We talk about what temperature rise might happen, and obviously if you have a sort of average global temperature rise, which we've already had of 1 degree, 1.1 from pre-industrial, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's how it impacts our very sensitive climate system. And we already are seeing the ice caps melting, the Greenland ice sheet melting. And these are things that have feedback mechanisms built in. So when ice melts, so ice is white and it reflects the sun, so it helps to cool the planet. It's like our cooling system. But when it melts, it becomes dark sea. More heating is absorbed. And I mean, at the edge of this, the IPCC are the body in the world that looks at the science where there's consensus. And so the IPCC, I see them like as a backstop. Here's what we know as well as we possibly know in the kind of leading edge of science here. And there are also other papers and research studies that the IPCC won't necessarily use their data until it's been verified. And so there's a sense in that, but also as an organisation focused on the precautionary principle, as in how bad could it be, we have to look at not any old bits of science on the margin, but like mainstream papers that are coming out. So for example, this June, 20 institutions modeling with the biggest supercomputers said that the climate sensitivity may be 5 degrees C. What that means is that the carbon and other greenhouse gases that are in the atmosphere may create 5 degrees of warming. I mean, that science has since been disputed, and it's to do with clouds, what impacts the clouds have, and it's quite complex science, and so we're not sure. I think at the minute we're talking about heading towards between 3 and 4 degrees of warming, and the kinds of impacts we're talking about with that level of warming means in some places it'll be a hell of a lot hotter. Some places will be uninhabitable. You'll get increasing extreme weather effects which impact our food, to the fact that Anglia Ruskin University have said they think that civilized society will collapse by 2040 because of the impact on our food systems. And then I think last year NASA Goddard Institute said it would be sooner, or it's getting sooner. And obviously you can't tell, because this is not just about physical and ecological sciences, it's also about how we run our society. And as COVID has shown us, everything's stretched to kind of very limited, but in so-called efficiency means there's very little give in the system, just in time sort of logistics. So that's why, you know, just a little bit of panic buying around toilet rolls, and people starting to fight over them in the shops. You know, I've been laughed at last year or 2018 when I was on the radio going, you know, people be fighting over tins of beans, and then within like a year that's like literally happening over toilet rolls actually. So maybe the last impact to say is that around 4 degrees of warming, that's according to Kevin Anderson, widely accepted by experts to be a temperature at which we can't adapt to within our current civilization. Also the UK's own Committee on Climate Change said that in 2008 that was possibly beyond something we could adapt to. And then this June they told the UK government to prepare for 4 degrees of warming. So essentially they've said to the UK government, start to prepare for the collapse of civilization. I mean, nothing's guaranteed, right? But 4 degrees of warming, the impacts are believed to kill roughly half of the planet in terms of people. You know, again, according to Johan Rockström from Potsdam Institute. So those kinds of things that I'm talking about, you know, the vast majority of the world at threat, facing existential risks and mass deaths and collapses of civilization. You're looking at starvation and war, and you know, if you want to read about that kind of apocalyptic breakdown, you know, Octavia Butler's novels like Parable of the Sower would, or you know, even The Handmaid's Tale, you know, it's that kind of scenario. I mean, it's fucking frightening.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you can see why in that situation grief feels like, if you're really seeing it head on, that is an appropriate response to really kind of reckon with the situation we're in.